Well, when we we're waiting for the other participant to join, so I think maybe Ma'am Marvelin, yeah, maybe start to the our material for today. I think the material for the biology, it's about flower, ya, flower morphology. Ya, mungkin hari ini ya terkait dengan mata kuliah kita yang hari ini terkait dengan morfologi bunga yang akan dibawakan oleh Ma'am Nevalin B. Lebenio. Yeah. Good morning, Ma'am Nevalin, and our students in biology education program.
Tapi Pak Wahyu ada
Good morning to one and all.
Yeah.
From the Philippines, warm greetings to you there in Indonesia, sirs and ma'ams.
Yeah. Izin Bu, just apa tadi izin? Ya, Pak Surullah gimana udah join? I think our students have 3, 4, 5. Ya. Nanti kalau ada yang mau disampaikan langsung jika ada yang mau ditanyakan bisa langsung menggunakan di aplikasi chatbox ya. You can use chatbox to make some questions or sharing about your experience in learning of biology.
Morning, ma'am.
Yeah, Ma'am Nevalin, this is our head of the program below. Ma'am Jusmiati, it's a head of the biology education program of Universitas Muhammadiyah Parepare.
Sir, are we going to start already?
Yeah. Maybe to save time, maybe you can start for now, Ma'am Nevalin.
While the rest maybe will be joining later, we start with our lesson. I think topic for this morning. This is, I think, I don't know how many sessions you have had already with Benguet State University. And this morning, your topic will be about, it's related to biology. And we start with the different parts of plants. But prior to that, may I just introduce my name? So just like Sir mentioned a while ago, I am Nevalin Tapinio from Benguet State University Pugyas campus. It's one of the external campuses of BSU, just like Bokod, which is your partner institution.
Okay.
I hope we can you can directly grab what I'm saying, so can directly proceed with the topic later. I would just like to give a background regarding the location of our institution. The Philippines is actually an Asian country, just like Indonesia. And here in Bugyas, our major crops actually are vegetables, which include cabbage, potatoes, carrots, broccoli, and other highly perishable crops. But the major crops we produce here in Bugyas, because it's a cold place, is actually carrots, potatoes, cabbages. We also produce leeks and celery, but few. Okay. Yeah. So our school is located adjacent to your partner institution, which is BSU Bukod. It's actually 2 hours and a half, or I mean 2 hours ride away from Bukod, your partner institution. And we are happy that you chose BSU as one of your partner agency. I hope our lesson or topic for this morning will help you. But as far as I know, this group is a combination of teachers or professors and students, if I'm not mistaken, sir. Maybe there will be things that I will not be able to discuss. I need, of course, the help of our professors to help me out in case I cannot expound some of the important topics in this lesson, which is flower morphology. That's all, sir. So,
Ibu Jus, ini mahasiswa all semester or only first semester or third semester? Ini mahasiswa dari semester berapa semua ini? Oh, sepertinya Ibu Jus. Ya. Dari semester berapa semua ini? Izin.
Kita lihat itu video yang Gibran dia panggil semua Pak Kapolres dan di mana dengan PJ semua.
Pak Asrul, ini mahasiswa, teman-teman mahasiswa semester berapa ini semua? Kalau boleh tahu.
Semester 3, ada semester 5.
3, 5. Oke. Ada yang semester pertama ya?
Semester pertama.
Yeah, Ma'am Napelin, I think our students some they are have several of the semester. Yeah.
3, 5 sama semester 7.
Yeah, I think for
semester 5, 7.
yeah, 5 semester, third semester, the first semester, yeah.
Semester Pak Wahyu semester
Yeah.
5, semester 3, dengan semester 7.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I think this is the there are kind of the students of the semester, yeah. The third, 5 and 7 semester. Yeah. I think it's more several of our students in our meeting today.
Can we start already, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
I'll just be sharing to you my PowerPoint presentation for your reference, sir.
Yeah.
I hope you can already see the first slide, sir. Is it visible?
Yes. Yes, it's visible. We can see very clear.
Thank you, thank you. Once again, good morning to one and all. Our topic is all about flower morphology. So it is expected that at the end of this lecture, the participants should be able to identify the parts of a flower, relate each part to its function, and will be able to classify flowers according to parts present, attachment, and inflorescence. So this will be the scope of our topic on floral morphology. Sorry. Before we start formally with our discussion, I would just like to ask everyone to give insights regarding these following questions. So you are given maybe 15 minutes to think of your answer and share your answer maybe later in our group chat. Would that be okay
I'm
for you?
sorry, ma'am Navlin, you can just press F5 to
Sorry.
bigger
Ayan.
slide. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ano ba yun? I'm sorry. What's happening?
Yeah, I think we have some trouble in signal. Yeah. Ma'am? Yeah, okay.
Morning.
Yeah.
Sorry. Actually, we got a typhoon here in the Philippines right now. We are under signal
Oh,
number 3.
oh, yeah, yeah.
And I hope you understand if there will be some technological glitches. Our internet connection is a bit affected. That's why
Okay.
maybe there will be instances that my presentation will stop. Actually, that's why we got no work today. That's why
Oh,
yes. I hope you understand it.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. Never
wait,
mind.
I'll find it.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm lost.
Okay, ma'am.
Dengan informasi
Never mind. Keep going.
informasi dimakaskan Andi
But we have streaming on YouTube now. So maybe I think if Zoom have some a little trouble in the signal, but maybe at YouTube maybe we can find.
Okay. I am back, I think. I am back. Good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so we go back with our discussion. Actually, I am giving you this as your activity, but maybe since we got already a few minutes past, we will just give sharings later if in case there will be some topics that we cannot take during this discussion. Would that be okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So we start already with different terminologies. We define first some terminologies for us to understand well on flower morphology. So first, we define what is morphology. So based on our references, we define morphology as a branch of biology which deals with the study of form, structure, and relative position of different organs. And so, when we say flower, again, when we talk about flower, we can say that a flower is actually a highly specialized shoot apex. It means that they cease growing once the flower and the fruit are formed. Or it means flowers cease after carrying out their sexual reproductive function. So another definition for a flower, when we say flower, it is actually a modified leaf which contains its important parts, which includes the petals, the sepals, and the reproductive parts such as the stamen and the pistils or the carpels. So in other words, a flower is a modified leaf adapted for reproduction. So mainly, the major function of a flower is actually for reproduction. But we will take one at a time, the different functions of a flower. And so in essence, when we say flower morphology, we are discussing here the different parts of the flower, the function of each part, and how does each part relate to each other in order for the flower to carry out its function on reproduction. So basically, one of the functions of a flower is for the attraction of pollinators, like for example, bees, what else? Butterflies. And so why is it attractive? Why is the flower attractive? Because of its various colors. So that makes it very attractive to pollinators. So another one, the flower plays a function in the process of pollination, which I think one of your topics later in this online lecture. And of course, fertilization, that would go together, pollination and double fertilization. That's actually another topic that will be discussed by my colleagues next Monday. And basically, after the process of pollination, fertilization, comes now the production of seed. So all of those processes, the process of pollination, fertilization, and seed production occurs in the flower. It happens in the flower. And another one is for genetic diversity. So it is believed that flowers have their own time to bloom. And like what I said, the flower carries its function on seed production. So even if the season changes, still the flower has its own mechanism to do its several functions like fertilization and basically seed production. Okay, so we move on to the different parts of a flower. We call this as the different structures. These are actually the common parts or the most essential parts of a flower. First, we get the sepals, the petals, the stamen, and we have the carpels. Yeah, so you can see in my slides the other parts, but what I have emphasized here are the essential, are the common parts of a typical flower. We will discuss one at a time that the different parts of the flower. First, we have the sepals. Actually, it is said that the sepal is a non-reproductive part or non-reproductive organ. Okay, of course, basically the color is green and it looks like a leaf. That's why it is leaf-like. We call the collection of sepals as the calyx actually. So the major function of the sepal is for protection of the floral bud before it opens. So it's basically for the protection of the floral bud during the formation or during the early stage of flower development. That's the major function of the sepal, or we collectively call it as the calyx. So I have here some pictures showing to you the different types of sepals. So we should not be misled because there are flowers that have petals that appears to be its flower, but actually it's not. Like for example, this one. This one. This is actually the sepal, and the main flower is this. Like for example, in poinsettia, the colored part of that actually are the bracts. It's not the flower itself. So, but bear in mind that the major consideration when we talk about the sepal is it's for protection, and it's most of the time, or it's described to be as green. Okay, so yeah, if you try to notice on this is a flower bud that is attempting to open. So it's actually encased, or it is being enclosed by the sepal. So it plays the role on protection. Okay. I'm sorry, you can just interrupt if you have some clarification or if you have some questions, please. Okay. We move on to the second most essential part of the flower. We call it as the petal. Okay. So the petal is actually the most attractive part of the flower because of its various color. Okay. Comparing it with the sepal, which is basically green. And the petal is collectively known as the corolla. I'm sorry, I got stuck again. Okay, so going back, the petals are the most attractive part of the flower, and it is collectively known as the corolla. So let's try to see on the function of the petals. So the petals plays the role in the advertisement, or in the advertisement, or in the attraction of the different pollinators, which include, of course, the insects. So if you try to see, this is what we call as the petal. It's the colored portion in the flower. Yeah, and we have the third part of the flower, or the other organ. We call it as the stamen. Okay? If you try to look on it, it's stamen. I emphasize the word men because the stamen actually is the male reproductive part in the flower. And the stamen is consist of the stalk, or we technically call it as the filament, and a terminal structure, which is the anther. So we collectively call the stamen as the androecium. From the word andro, it means male, because like what I said, it's the stamen that serves as the male reproductive part in a flower. So basically, since it's the male reproductive part in a flower, the stamen is the function of the stamen is to produce pollen and make it available for pollinators to allow reproduction. So the pollen actually contains the male reproductive cell, which is, of course, the sperm. It is contained in the pollen. Okay, so this is how we see the stamen. So we got here the anther, and we have here the filament, or this is just the stalk. The function of it is to uphold, or to hold up the anther. Okay, so it's actually in the anther that the pollen is being produced. It's in the anther. So let's try to see the different functions. Okay, first, the filament. Like what I said, the filament functions to hold up the anther. And for, of course, to make it accessible for pollinators. And of course, for wind dispersal of the pollen. Like I said also a while ago, the anther is where the pollen is produced. It's the manufacturing site of the pollen. It is in the anther. Okay. The fourth essential part of a flower is the carpel. Okay. So if we have the stamen as the male reproductive structure, the carpel serves as the female reproductive structure in a flower. Okay. Another term, we call the carpel as the female reproductive organ. The function of it, aside from its the female reproductive structure organ, the carpel serves actually as the protector, or it protects the ovule in the angiosperms or flowering plants. Okay. We collectively call the carpel as the gynoecium. The stamen is collectively called as the androecium, right? So the carpel is also called or collectively called as the gynoecium. So we have here the different functions of the carpel. So basically, the carpel is involved in the fertilization process. The carpel also contains the stigma. Okay, it contains the stigma. And what is the stigma? The stigma actually contains the sticky part here on top. It has the sticky part that allows the catching of the pollen during the process of pollination and fertilization. Okay, so after that, we have the stigma, right? Which is sticky actually. The stigma contains a sticky substance which is responsible for receiving the pollen during the pollination process. So, once the pollen is caught by the stigma, and there happens what we call as fertilization, the fertilized ovule will move down the style. So the style is responsible for the transportation, okay, for the safe transportation of the fertilized ova down here. Down here dito sa the pollen, the pollen, if the stigma catches the pollen, it will travel down to the ovary, okay? It will travel down here where, of course, double fertilization takes place, okay? Here. So that will be part of your lesson by Monday. It will be expounded to you further by my colleague on Monday. So we will just discuss the different parts of the flower in order for us to have a better grasp when we discuss pollination and double fertilization next week. Moving on. Aside from the carpel having the style, which is responsible for the safe transportation of the pollen to the ovule, the carpel also functions in the protection of the ovule present inside here. Okay, so in the ovary. Okay? So in the ovary, it contains the egg cell. So from again, I repeat. So if the pollen is being caught by the stigma, it travels down through the style. It travels down to the ovary where the egg cells or the ovules are present. So it's in there, it's in the ovary that fertilization, pollination, and double fertilization takes place. Okay, so I would just like to give an overview. So from the androecium part, or the stamen, we got there the anther, right? So it's in the anther that pollen is produced. So during the pollination process, due to these pollinators, like for example, insects, animals, wind, and other agents of pollination, once the pollen is catched by the stigma, because the stigma is actually, it contains a sticky substance. Once the pollen is catched, the pollen will travel down the style towards the ovary, where fertilization and double fertilization takes place. Okay, so the pollen, I repeat, the pollen contains actually the sperm, or the male cells, the male sex cells. It's the pollen that has it, or that contains it. Okay, I hope you got it. Yan. Just like what I said, you just butt in or just interrupt if you have some clarification, please. Yeah. If there are no clarification, we move on to the different classification of flowers. Okay. So flowers actually are classified according to part present. It's either complete or incomplete. Another classification is according to the essential part present, or according to sexual condition. So a flower is either classified as a perfect flower or imperfect flower. Next, according to sexuality, a flower is classified as either monoecious or dioecious flower. And we have hermaphroditic flower. Another classification is according to symmetry. A flower may either be classified having a radial symmetry or a bilateral symmetry. And according to floral attachment, it's either a flower is classified as hypogynous flower, perigynous, and we have epigynous flower. And we have the sixth one is according to inflorescence. Actually, there are 10 classification, more or less 9 or 10 classification of flower according to inflorescence. And all of this will be discussed one at a time. Okay. Don't worry, we will be discussing this different classification one at a time. So first, we have the classification according to part present. Like what I said, a flower can either be classified as a complete flower. What does it mean by a complete flower? When we say flower is complete, it means we can see there the male and female reproductive part. Okay, or we can see the male and female reproductive . Sorry. Really, my internet is disconnecting. I hope you can still be with me. Okay. So going back,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, is it okay, sir?
Yes, ma'am. We have some trouble too, but
Okay.
we can move to the our material.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You can continue, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, so going back on the different classification according to what's that? classification according to part present. So I said a while ago, we got two classification according to part present. It's either complete or incomplete. So when we say a complete flower, it contains actually the different common parts, like the sepals, petals, stamen, and the carpel. So all of those are present in the flower. We call it as complete. When we say incomplete flower, one of the, wait, in an incomplete flower, one of the essential parts is either missing. It's either that it has no sepal or it has no stamen. One of the four essential parts is missing. We call it already as an incomplete flower. So we got here an example, examples actually. Examples of incomplete flower would include squash. I don't know how you term it. How do you term it in your place? But the English term is of course squash, and we got zucchini. Okay, those plants have what we call as incomplete flower. Okay. Next, we get the classification as to the essential part present. According to, as to the essential part present, it's either that a flower is a perfect or imperfect. It means a complete flower, yes, a complete flower is actually a perfect flower. Also, a flower having both the stamen, or we call it as bisexual, is a perfect flower. Okay, but a flower is classified, or yeah, it's called as imperfect if it has no stamen or it has no pistil, or we call it as carpel. We call that as an imperfect flower. So when we talk about perfect and imperfect flower, we are more talking here on the presence of the reproductive parts. Okay, reproductive parts. Like if the flower has the stamen and the pistil, it is classified as perfect. Okay, but if the flower has the stamen only, or if the flower is staminate, okay, we call a flower that has the stamen as staminate. So if the flower is staminate, it is imperfect. Likewise, if the flower has the carpel only or the pistil only, it is also considered or classified as an imperfect flower. By the way, a flower that has carpel only or that has a pistil is called as a pistillate flower. Okay, and those two, staminate and pistillate flowers, are classified as imperfect. I hope you got it. So we got here some examples of perfect flowers. Examples of plants, we got apples, cherry, sorry, the spelling for cherry, legumes. And for imperfect flowers, we got squash, cucumbers, corn. Yan. Those are examples of, those are some examples under perfect and imperfect flower. Okay, you got here a male and female flower. So these are just, I'm just trying to show you the structure, or how does it look like, how does a male flower and a female flower looks like in cucurbits. So this is how it looks like in cucurbits or in squash, for to be specific. Okay, so the left picture is actually the male flower. And the other one, the one on the right is a female flower. It contains the ovary and the ovules, basically. Okay. Okay, moving on, we got here the classification according to sexuality of plants. So according to sexuality of plants, a flower may either be called, or plants can be classified as either monoecious. From the word mono, it means both the male and the female flower are present in a plant. Monoecious. The other one is dioecious. From the word di, it means two. So dioecious plants actually most probably need a plant of the opposite sex present to achieve pollination. When we say dioecious plant, the flowers are present in separate, the male and female flowers are present in separate plant. Like for example, in papaya. And we got the other one, hermaphroditic. When we say hermaphroditic, the plant is consists of what we call as a perfect flower. It means that in the plant, the flower has both the male and female reproductive organ. We call it hermaphroditic. The difference when we say monoecious, an example, when we say monoecious, when we say monoecious, the plant contains, or the plant has its both the male and female flower in one plant. Okay, that is monoecious. Dioecious, the male flower is found in another plant. Of course, but same plant pero another plant. Okay, in hermaphroditic, in one plant, it has the perfect flower. So if you try to get back on our definition of a perfect flower, the flower itself has its male and female reproductive organs or parts. I mean, reproductive parts. I just want to show you some examples, although we got a lot of examples, but these are just few. For monoecious plants, these are some examples. We have pines. We have cubito pepo or squash. We got coconut. Examples of dioecious plants, we got spinach, mulberries, papaya, and we got asparagus. So for hermaphroditic, or a flower that has its both male and female reproductive part, we got rose, mangoes, lilies, sunflower, and the like. So like what I said, these are just examples. We can still browse many examples in references online or in printed references. Okay. The first one, we get the classification of flower according to symmetry. When we say symmetry, this talks about the shape and form. Okay. So a flower is called to have radial symmetry if it is star shape, or the flower is regular. Okay. It is built up in a wheel-like structure, and the part of the flower is equally distributed. Examples of flowers that are classified to have a radial symmetry would include hibiscus. We have the rose and lily. These are examples of flowers having radial symmetry. So if you try to look on it, if you divide it, it will be divided equally into axes. Okay. Next, we have bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry, seem to be classified as irregular flower, and it is otherwise called as zygomorphic. When we say zygomorphic, it means yolk. because the word zygote is derived from the Greek word which means yolk, the one we see in eggs. Okay? So in a bilateral symmetry flower, the distribution of the parts is actually uneven. You try to see these different examples. Uh, we got here gladula, orchids, we got jasmine flowers, and we got pea flowers. So those different plants have flowers that are classified to be bilaterally symmetric. Okay, next is according to floral attachment. Okay. When we talk about floral attachment, actually we are talking here on the position of the ovary. So a flower can be classified as hypogynous if the sepals, the petals, and the stamens are inserted under the carpel. So it looks like this. If if the ovary is superior, or the essential parts like the sepals, the petals, and the stamens are inserted under the carpel, and the ovary is superior, or it is above this essential parts of the flower, it is classified as a hypogynous flower. Examples of plants having a hypogynous flower includes the lily, tomatoes, and tulips, and many more. Yeah. Okay. Next, we have a perigynous flower. Okay. So when we say perigynous, the ovary is in the bottom of a sunken or a concave receptacle. Comparing it a while ago, in the hypogynous, from the word hypogynous, the ovary is above, or it is superior. Here in the perigynous, the ovary is sunken. Okay. It is located within a concave receptacle, and the sepals, the petals, and the stamens are attached at the edge. Sorry. Examples of plants having perigynous attachment would include rose, we got plum, and we got cherry. Next, we got epigynous. If you
Sorry, Ma'am Evelyn is experiencing some technical glitches. She'll be back in a few seconds.
Yes, ma'am. We have some trouble too about the connectivity about the streaming signal.
Okay. By the way, how's the weather in Indonesia right now? In South Sulawesi in particular. How's the weather over there? While waiting for Ma'am Evelyn, our students may drop their questions in the chat box. They can have it in Bahasa, and then Sir Wahyu may translate them. Yes, or anyone among the instructors, professors.
Yes, ma'am. If the students have questions, feel free to ask. But if you can spill in chat box. Mungkin nanti juga Ibu Jus bisa bantu karena saya agak kurang mengerti kalau istilah biologi.
Siap-siap. Oke, silakan adik-adik kalau ada yang ingin ditanyakan.
Jadi silakan adik-adik mahasiswa jika ada yang ingin ditanyakan silahkan ya, bisa menggunakan juga fasilitas chat box ya.
Oke, silakan satu orang per angkatan ya. Jadi bisa di bahasa Indonesiakan saja dulu. Nanti minta tolong ke Pak Wahyu untuk mentranslate supaya Mrs. Nevelyn itu bisa memahami. Ya, apa maksud dari pertanyaannya kalian? Nah, ini secara garis besarnya ini membahas tentang morfologi bunga. Ya. Oke, silakan Fitriani bisa mungkin bertanya Fitriani.
Good morning. Sorry, I got lost again.
She's back. It's okay, ma'am. It's okay. We will finish this one. But do we have questions from the students? Ada? Ada questions?
Questions, ma'am?
I'm asking the students if they have questions.
Sorry.
But so far, we don't have questions in the chat box, so
Okay.
perhaps you can proceed, Ma'am Evelyn.
Okay, sorry for that. Sorry for that. Okay, we move. We stop here, right? Perigenous. So we were talking a while ago that in a perigenous plant or in a perigenous flower, the ovary is in the bottom of a sunken or concave-like receptacle, wherein the sepals, the petals, and stamen are being attached at the edge or above the ovary. So we get examples of plants having perigenous classification. We got the peach, the rose, plum, and the cherry, and in more. I'm just citing here examples. Moving on, we get the epigenous plant or epigenous flower. This is how it looks like. Sorry. So if you try to notice, the pistil or the female reproductive part is sunken in a receptacle, wherein the sepals, the petals, and the stamen attach above the ovary. Okay? It's above the ovary, which is termed as inferior. Examples of plants having epigenous flower classification would include apples. We got cucumber, guava, orchids, and many more. Okay, so I hope you can see the differences between this different classification of flower according to the location actually of the position or the attachment of the reproductive organ, specifically the ovary. Okay. Okay, next one, we got the classification of flower according to inflorescence, or when we say inflorescence, this refers to the arrangement of the flower along its axis. First, classification, we call it as spike. And this is how it looks like. These are some few examples of flowers with spike inflorescence. Okay, so if you try to notice, the flower are born on the side of a single undivided axis. And the flowers are actually, the inflorescence is actually directly connected to the stem. And we got some examples of flowers with spike inflorescence. We got celosia, we have barley, and many more. I'm just citing here some examples anyway. Another classification, according to inflorescence, is cyme, or in other word, we call it as cymose. This is how it looks like. Okay. Okay. So the inner flower, actually, the inner flowers are first to open. It's the inner flowers that first to open, then followed by the outside flower. I hope you can see what flower is this. We got, actually, I have cited here 2 examples of flower with cyme inflorescence. We got jasmine and bougainvillea. Okay, so if you try to notice the inner flower, especially here in the bougainvillea flower, this is actually the flower. The one inside, it's not the purple color, because the purple color actually is termed as the bracts, but the bracts actually is not the actual flower. It's a modified leaf, which helps also in the attraction of pollinators. Yeah, this is how cyme inflorescence looks like. Okay, next we got catkin. And this is how a catkin inflorescence looks like. If you have seen a mulberry, that's the flower is like that. The arrangement or the inflorescence is classified as catkin. Okay, so if you try to look on it, the picture that we got here, in catkin inflorescence, it got a scaly spike with downward position. The flower or the inflorescence, the attachment of the flowers actually along its axis is positioned downwards. We got here examples like what I said. We got mulberry, we have oaks and birch. Okay, these are examples of flowers with catkin inflorescence. Next, we have head or capitulum. Okay, so this is how it looks like. In head or capitulum inflorescence, the flower is called to be composite flower. It is actually the sessile flower actually are attached or found in a flat axis. Okay, the sessile flower. Okay, I repeat, the sessile flowers are actually attached or found in a flat axis. So examples of flowers with head inflorescence would include common daisy, the first picture. We got the second picture, which is sunflower, and we got dandelions. So these flowers possess what we call as capitulum or head inflorescence. Next, classification of inflorescence is called as raceme or racemose. Okay, this is how it looks like. So the one that the flowers of radish, what else? Mustard and other plants belonging to the same family actually have what we call as racemose or raceme inflorescence. In the raceme inflorescence, the older flowers that are present at the base have actually longer stalk, comparing it with those flowers or the young flowers located above. Okay, so you try to check on the flowers of the radish plant here that we have in the slide. It proves that the older flowers that are located below or at the base have longer stalk, comparing it with those flowers at the upper or the younger flowers. Okay, so we call this as racemose inflorescence or raceme. And the next one is corymbed. Okay. So this is a form of inflorescence wherein the pedicel flowers are the first one to open, and the other parts would follow. So the lower flowers, if you try to notice, the lower flowers open first, and the axis of a corymb continues to produce flowers. Examples of corymbos or corymbed inflorescence would include those in lantana plant or shrub verbena, and we have the candy staff, sorry, the second picture. So this flowers or this plant have what we call as corymbos or corymbed inflorescence. Next, classification according to inflorescence is umbellate or umbel. So this is how it looks like. In an umbel flower, the stalk are actually the same or equal. And the pedicel of the flower is of equal length, and they are arising from a common point of origin. So if you try to look at the picture, this is actually a flower of an onion or allium cepa. So the flower is classified as umbel or umbellate due to the presence of same length of stalk, I mean. Okay. Also this one, the flowers of parsley plants, they're classified as umbel or umbellate. Next, we got spadix or spathe. In a spadix inflorescence, it's actually containing what we call as a modified leaf spathe. Like for example, in this anthurium flower, the red colored actually is not the actual flower, or this is not the real flower, because this is actually a bract, but it also helps in the process of pollination because it can attract pollinators, right? So we call this red colored part of this anthurium plant as the leaf spathe. Okay, so the actual flower actually is this one, the one that is colored yellow and white. This is the actual flower in an anthurium plant. Likewise here in the peace lily, the white leaf-like structure or flower-like structure is not the actual flower. We call this actually as the modified leaf spathe. Okay. Okay. And also we have in palm trees or in palm plants, the flower is classified as spadix inflorescence. Okay. Yeah. And we got the last one. We got the last classification of flowers according to inflorescence. We get the last classification. We get the panicle or paniculate. So in this classification, this is actually common in grasses and other plants. Okay. So we got here examples. In oats, we classify the clusters of flowers or the arrangement of the flower along its axis as panicles. Also in mangoes, Mangifera indica or mango, the flower is classified as a panicle, the arrangement of the flower. Okay. Uh, hmm? Okay. I hope you're still there. Am I audible po? Am I audible? Sorry.
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Ma'am Chesta,
Yes, ma'am.
I got an activity here, and that actually would end my lecture on morphology, unless there are some questions.
I see. So you will end up with an activity. Is that an assignment?
They can answer it right now, ma'am, because it's actually what's that? It's a matching type activity, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, yes. Maybe we will end with an activity, and then we will give them how many minutes to do that, and then after that you give a feedback.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so good morning to our participants. Unless you got some questions. Saan ba yun? I get here some, it's just actually a simple activity to evaluate how far have you been with our lecture. Unless there will be some questions or further, clarification on the topics that we got. I hope it was not discussed too fast.
Yeah, we have a question in the chat box. We have a question in the chat box, Ma'am Evelyn. Are the flowers in the genus Cucurbita monoecious? Are these so, how is this? I'm not even, I cannot even read it clearly and correctly. Ma'am Evelyn, that is for you.
Sorry, nakamute pala ako. Yes, Ma'am Chess, I'm gonna read on it. Sa chat box, are the flowers in the... okay. Are the flowers in the genus, what's this? Cucurbita monoecious or dioecious? Okay. Okay, so in cucurbits, usually the flowers, the plant is classified as monoecious because you can find the male and female flower in both plant. I mean, both the male and female flower can be found in a single plant. Papaya plants actually are classified as dioecious because we got separate female flower in a separate plant. How is that? Is it clear? I hope I have answered the question. Reproductive organs. How to before I'll answer the second question. Did I answer the first question? Ma'am Chess.
Somebody's speaking, but I think she is muted.
Ano?
Nur Asia, you were saying something.
Ma'am,
Yes?
ma'am,
Yeah.
if we have some like sound trouble, maybe we can use in
Oh,
chat
yes,
box.
yes.
That box.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, Ma'am
Yes.
Nobilin. Nievalin,
Ma'am
you
Chen?
can proceed to the second question.
Okay. For the second question, how to group flowers based on their reproductive organs. Okay. So flowers can either be monoecious, dioecious, or hermaphroditic. Also, a flower can be called as what's that? Complete or incomplete. So when we say a flower is monoecious, both the male and female flower are found in a single plant that is monoecious. When we say from the word di, which means two, the male flower is found in separate, male and female flowers are found separately in two plants. Like for example, in papaya. Okay, I got the second question. It says here, previously we explained about perfect flowers and what's that? Imperfect flowers. Okay. So when we say perfect flowers, it is said to be as perfect flowers if both the male and female reproductive structure are found in a single flower. It is perfect flower. Okay? It is called as an imperfect flower if the flower has its stamen only, or it's either that the flower has its carpel or pistil only. It is classified as imperfect. One of the reproductive structure is missing. That is considered as imperfect. Okay. By the way, another term for a perfect flower is actually hermaphroditic. Hermaphroditic, it means it has both, the flower has both the male and female reproductive structure in a single flower. That's what we call as perfect or hermaphroditic flower. So I hope I answered question number 3. Ma'am
All
Chess,
right. Thank you, ma'am.
baka meron
Do we have more questions? From Madam Jusmiati Jafar. Anything more? Or something we want to clarify or share from our experiences with plants or flowers?
Yes. Sharing is very much accepted since we are...
Ma'am Evelyn, may I clarify
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that when you say mono, it means there's only one reproductive structure.
Thank-
Sorry. Okay. Ma'am Chess?
Yes, ma'am. Jusmiati Jafar. Please
Okay,
go
thank
ahead.
you. Thank you, Chess. Thank you very much, Chess Inara and Mrs. Devalin. Yeah, thank you very much, Mrs. Devalin, for the material that has been presented. Thank you very much to Mrs. Chess Isnara, Mr. Wahyu, and lecturer and student for the participant today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am
Thank you.
Evelyn. That was Ma'am Jafar
Yes,
from
ma'am.
UMPAR. Ma'am Jafar, are you one of the instructors, the professors handling this group of this class? Yeah, I think yes. Okay, so what's the next part, Ma'am Evelyn?
Actually, I have posted here an activity, a simple activity for the participants to answer, ma'am. And then after that, unless they have questions, and then that would end my presentation, ma'am. It's all about the different, the morphology of flower.
Okay, so it's like choose the letter of your answer and write it on the space provided. So in number 1, let us do number 1.
Okay. For number 1, pollen. For the pollen, actually, this is the description is it's the opposite description. Dust-like grains that contains the male sex cells. That's the pollen. For the anther, it's where the pollen is made and stored in pollen sacs. Okay. The filament actually is this slender stalk that supports the anther. Okay. The sepal, it's here actually the answer is it serves as the protection of the flower bud before it opens. Okay. The stigma contains the sticky substance that catches the pollen. during the process of pollination. Okay. And the style, it's in the female reproductive organ, we call the stalk as the style. But in the male flower, or in the male reproductive organ of a flower, the stalk is called as the filament. Okay, or this is actually the tube. In female flower, the style serves as the passage through of the pollen towards the egg in the ovary. And the ovary of the flower contains the female sex cells, which is actually the ovules and other nuclei present in the ovule. Ma'am Chess, the different cells found in the ovule will be discussed further by the next presenter, Ma'am Christine, next week. And another structure found in a flower actually are the ovules. Once the ovules will get matured or will get fertilized and get matured, that will develop into the seed of the fruit. So the ovary, okay, the ovary, if it gets matured, will serve actually as the fruit of the plant. And inside the fruit actually are matured ovules, which is technically termed, or in layman's term, we call the matured ovule as the seeds. Okay, so that will all discuss further, but in the subject or in the topic, pollination and double fertilization. Okay, so that this activity will also summarize my discussion on flower morphology.
Okay, so that is a wrap up of the lecture. I was checking the chat box if there are more questions, but so far there are no more questions. And then Mama Jusmiati Jafar has already given her short remarks. May I remind the participants to please, okay, let me share in the chat box the attendance form again. I was checking the attendance form. I only received 7 responses. We are 19 in the Zoom. So the rest of you who did not fill in the attendance list, please do. I posted the attendance list in the chat box also. Maybe we will allow 2 minutes to answer the attendance. And then after that, we will come to the photo ops. The usual thing that we do to end the lectures is the photo screenshots. All right.
Oke, jadi silakan adik-adik mahasiswa yang untuk segera menyelesaikan formulir kehadiran, the attendance list, the chat box, karena nanti itu akan tertutup. Ya, the form is maybe at 2 minutes next, the form is closed. Yeah, I think. Ya, dan kemudian adik-adik ya untuk to conclude the meeting ya, so we hope to open your cam ya, open your cam. Oh, Ma'am Jusmiati have some trouble for the signal. Jadi silakan adik-adik untuk dokumentasi akhir ya setelah menyelesaikan formnya. Please open your cam. I will or Ma'am Chester will take the screenshot of the participant.
Okay. Ma'am Evelyn, you can take down your slides. You may not take down slides. Okay.
Ma'am, you can share our material, ma'am.
Yeah.
Later, maybe after send to the Ma'am Siana. Ma'am
Okay.
Siana have
Yeah.
another condition today.
Oh, it's a big busy lady.
Yes.
So, Ma'am Evelyn, they're requesting for the presentation. You please send to me a copy of your PowerPoint presentation. I'll be the one to send
Yeah.
through the to Indonesia.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So can you take down your slides
Ah,
already?
yes, ma'am. Sorry.
And then everybody, let's open our camera for the photo documentation. I hope you understand, ladies, that this is for purposes of documentation only. Don't worry, everything is for the purposes of documentation only. Okay, let's count. Dua,
Okay, let's count. And 3, 2, 1. Okay, once more.
all right.
Ibu Jus bisa minta Anda kita pakai komputer ya kayaknya. Sepertinya agak kurang jelas di sini.
Saya pakai HP ini karena jaringan tadi di laptop nggak mau konek-konek, Pak.
Oh iya.
Ma'am Jusmaiti Jafar, did we meet in person when I was in Indonesia? Were you there? You were there, I think. Okay. All right. Alhamdulillah. Terima kasih. There's another lecture this afternoon at 1:30 with
Ya,
the English education program.
Thank you,
ya,
Ci.
academic writing.
Yeah, academic writing. All right.
Oke. Bye-bye, ma'am.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Ci Sis Nara.
Yes. Sama-sama.
Kok saya keluar juga ini? Sudah,
Iya.
screenshot? Ya. Kok saya keluar juga ini? Oke, terima kasih. Terima kasih. Thank you, Ma'am Nevalin. Thank you, Ma'am Chester. Pak Nasrullah, Ibu Jusmiati, dan teman-teman mahasiswa sekalian yang kami hormati. So, kita ketemu nanti lagi untuk sesi selanjutnya. I think we close our meeting by saying Alhamdulillah, thank you, selamat pagi, and see you next time.
Thank you, Mas Alin, Sis Nara. Terima kasih banyak adik-adik ya. Minggu depan lagi insyaallah.
Iya, Bu. Thank you, Ma'am.
You're welcome po.
Oke, Pak Wahyu, terima kasih banyak Pak Wahyu. Bapak Ibu juga yang lain. Saya izin live dulu ya. Terima kasih juga untuk adik-adik mahasiswa.
Ya, ya. Oke, sampai ketemu lagi.